Around America, there are hundreds of paranormal teams investigating cases. In central Pennsylvania, there's one team known for their abilities and results, Mo Valley Paranormal. Join us now for a look into the world of hauntings and how the experts investigate the occurrences. This is Mo Valley Paranormal Live on WBLF. Now, here's Dave Shannon and Tyson Lidgett.
And a good Saturday evening to one and all. Once again, it's time for a regular weekly get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation of it. I'm Dave Shannon. That guy over there is Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody. So glad to have you along tonight.
Recovering from yet another St. Patrick's Day celebration. We're recording a little bit early this week for those of you who may be able to listen to us live somehow. And so we're recording early because Tyson has a day of celebration set up for St. Patrick's Day.
Ah, 'tis be true, yes.
So, as always, looking forward, if you follow Tyson on Facebook or even Mo Valley Paranormal, you'll see that there's been a bit of a fascination about the wearing of the green holiday. So, at any rate, we're here, though. We're not going to dwell on St. Patrick's Day, although Tyson could probably be coerced into doing that without much effort.
Yeah.
But bottom line is we show up and we talk about paranormal activity, paranormal investigation, paranormal reality TV. We try to cover the gamut if we can. And first question I have for you this week, Tyson, we're going to be talking about Ghost Brothers coming up here on the show. But there's a piece of equipment that they're now using, and I've seen the variation of it on Paranormal Lockdown, got its debut on Ghost Adventures. The question is, do you have any desire to get the SLS camera set up? And it seemed to pay off for the Ghost Brothers, too. I'm kind of, it's not always, I'm sure it's like all the paranormal investigating gear. You're going to get it out some night and, try to see an entity try to appear, and you get the stick figure on your camera. But, there's going to be other nights when you take that thing out and you're not going to get a damn thing. So I don't know. You interested in the SLS?
Well, one of these days when I have an extra $1,200 sitting around I have no need for, I might pick it up. But I mean, until that point, I really don't have the need. And I mean, we have the FLIR, which, in my opinion, I would think is more concrete evidence than the SLS, because there are times when I wonder if, just an anomaly, if there's some kind of anomaly that the camera can't read, I wonder if the camera itself has pareidoia, where if it sees an anomaly, because you'll see it actually put, say anomaly, around the room, it picks up. I almost wonder if it tries to, if it can't read it, it must be a person, boom, and it makes it a figure. So I don't know. I don't have like 100% trust in that system. I don't have 100% trust in equipment in general because it's man-made. But, as far as that goes, yeah, I'm not completely sold on the SLS. I mean, there's been a couple times on shows like, I think it was the I hate to give them credit, but the Ghost Adventure show where they were like in the prison and they had like all of a sudden like a 5-piece band come on and like actually start playing. That was kind of interesting. But like there was one, like I think it was the Tommy Knockers thing where the Ghost Adventures crew was in that mine, and all of a sudden every time they have something like Little Dance on one of their heads, I'm like, that's not really a ghost doing a jig on top of their heads, so
of course they would be the only ones that have come up with that. I mean, the little piece of evidence that we'll talk about in the review of the Ghost Brothers show, and what catches my attention with it is that exactly what you're talking about, what they had happen, Ghost Adventures had happen, at the prison theater. And the Ghost Brothers, you know, when you ask, you know, can you raise your hand? And this stick figure, and unless there's so much computing power in there that it's listening to you and it's able to decode what you're saying and make the stick figure do something based on what you said, which I don't think anybody's going to go to that length to make this thing work. But, you know, if you can pick up an image like that where that stick figure's there and it's like, you know, if this is an entity and you can hear me, can you raise your hand? And you see that the arm on the stick figure go up. It's like, okay, that's kind of convincing, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you're getting.
Go ahead.
If you're getting that kind of interaction, you know, reach out, wave, you know, something, and all of a sudden it does something, you know, yeah, that catches my interest. But like I said, I mean, it's a nifty piece of equipment out there. But you know, as I said before, unless I have an extra $1,200 sitting around, which unfortunately I don't, I probably won't be getting it anytime soon.
And none of us do. So, so that's that.
Right. Right.
Anyway, just thought I'd ask. I mean, that's we've talked about it when we do our review of Paranormal Reality TV, and you know, it's one of those things that it's caught my attention because at times it, you know, definitely gives you something that I think the first thing that was rather striking to me, and as it turns out, striking to Nick Groff's belly. There appeared, you know, in this, they were at I think that was that Chula Vista Hospital out in California that they did. And Nick's laying in a bed, and this stick figure, you know, appears beside the bed. And Nick's not really aware of anything going on. And all of a sudden he grabs his gut. And as he grabs his gut, the stick figure's actually punching him in the gut. And it was like, okay, this is you know, there's a, you know, a lot of splaining to do to explain that away, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So yeah, that was the first time I saw it that it really caught my attention. And it's like I say, and this is why Tyson has so many pieces of equipment as part of the Mo Valley Paranormal's investigating gear that they have, is that you never know when you're going to have that one piece that a spirit will prefer to communicate, or maybe is more capable of communicating with you. So it's best to have as many tools in the toolbox, as they say. Mm-hmm. So just thought I'd ask about the SLS. Any other new equipment that you've heard about, or, you know, okay, let's do this.
Okay.
You got into the Ghost Ark. What's your feeling so far on the times that you've used it? Is it a good investigating tool, or does it end up being something that's not that good of a piece of equipment? I know they made changes to it. You seem to be, your initial impressions of it were, you know, seemed to be positive. So give us your review of the Ghost Ark.
Well, fortunately, I was one of the lucky ones that got the second round of Ghost Arks. I guess the first rounds, you know, were poorly put together. They had that shielding problem with the EMF.
Right.
They picked up everything else going on with the, you know, inside the device. I was lucky and got the second round where it was well constructed. The shielding, you know, problems were taken care of. But you know what, Dave? It goes along with. I mean, it's too many. The best part of it is that it is like an all-inclusive, real-time piece of equipment where you can see on the screen, which is a very, very well put together digital screen. It has your EMF, ambient temperature, air pressure, and the top of it acts like a K2 meter, picks up EMF. So, I mean, that alone, I mean, is a decent piece of equipment where you have all those right there. Now, the Ghost Box part of that device, It's just like the PSB7, and the only thing that I like is it has the long wave option, which is a radio wave we don't use here in America. It's used mostly in Europe. The long wave radio waves gives you a kind of a real white noise, that can be used.
And what's being scanned is definitely not going to have any audio on it.
There's no radio waves being picked up here in America by it, so it's a real white noise generator, you could say. But as far as that, I mean, it's like any other piece of equipment. I mean, and that's what it was meant to be. It was 5 or 6 pieces of equipment put into one. Now I guess they're coming out with another version. I guess is being purported. They're coming out with a different version that has. I haven't really looked into it because I have no intention of buying it. But I guess there is. Darren is the tech guy on the team, and I guess there are videos on like YouTube where he gets into like how to really manipulate the Ghost Arc. You can do like sound traps, and what that is a pre-recorded piece of audio that will play in hopes of getting an EVP response, kind of like the Boo Buddy, where you set it down, and if let's say you're dealing with a child spirit, and you have a pre-recorded piece of audio with kids singing "Ring Around the Rosie," and if you get someone finishing that line or else singing along, that sound trap has worked because it has encouraged something to give an audio response.
It's basically an audio trigger object,
right? And that's what it is. Yeah. And the Ghost Arc has that that ability. Plus, it has the voice recorder. So I mean, it is an all-inclusive piece of equipment. And like I said, I was lucky enough to be one of the ones to get a good version. A lot of people were really disappointed, spending like $250 and getting a piece of equipment that was just a plastic box that didn't function well. So it works. I'm glad that it turned out to be okay. But I'm on the fence about it. It's like another piece of equipment. It's just something that comes out from now and again. But yeah, I mean,
it's good to have because it's kind of thing where
right.
It may be the night that the spirits at the place you're investigating choose to use something like that as opposed to any of the other means of communication that we have out there. And, it's, you can never have, I guess, too many tools in the toolbox, I suppose.
Nope.
All right. We'll take a break here and come back and talk more on Mo Valley Paranormal Live. We'll do that right after this time out on WBLF. News Talk 970 WBLF. It is Mo Valley Paranormal Live, our regular Saturday get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation thereof. We get together on Saturday evenings because it's that time where you may be thinking about paranormal investigation, or maybe you just watched another rehash, the 14th rehash of a Ghost Adventures episode that you've seen. But at any rate, we're here to talk about real paranormal investigation. I'm Dave Shannon. That guy over there is Tyson Widget.
Hello, everybody.
And we, I watch, the bottom line, I guess, in the end for the Ghost Adventures team is to get viewers. And I do watch their show. It tends to be, it's much more agonizing as the years go by, as far as the, what goes on during a show. The evolution of Zach, who was seemed to be the guy that had the most common sense of the whole group when they first started on TV. The guy that tried to keep everybody else calm.
Yeah.
Who has turned into the most easily swayed individual who trips over light cords and thinks he's been tripped by a ghost. And it's been a sad evolution as to what's going on there. But there still are, and one thing that has happened of late, I think, with Ghost Adventures that keeps me interested is now they're going around. There was a lot of that. All of the paranormal groups seem to be going to the same 20 places,
right,
in America,
right.
And there's way more than that that are out there that have hauntings.
Yeah,
and they're branching out. I've seen a lot of different and new locations in their shows. So, that's credit to the producers of the program. They're finding these places, getting everything set up, and then sending the Ghost Adventures team there to do the investigation. Because, as I say, I mean, geez whiz, Tyson, I'd say probably every town, and I mean, no matter what size the town may be, every town has probably at least 2 or 3 places that most folks would consider to be haunted.
Right. And go ahead. Oh, well, you know what? I was just going to say, that is a point of pride for us here at Mo Valley Paranormal, where I'm always asked all the time, especially by people when we do our lockdown events with the public, well, have you done Moundsville? Have you done Waverly? Have you done... No. Right. Number one, that takes money and time to travel to Kentucky to do Waverly Hills, or it takes time to, all my investigators work full-time jobs, so it's hard to say, hey, let's take 2 days and go to Virginia and do Moundsville, so, but besides that, we appreciate, our real trademark, I believe, here at Mo Valley Paranormal is personal and private residential areas. And, people call us all the time. Well, not all the time, but I mean on a regular basis, and say, hey, we got something going on. Can you help us? And for me, I would much rather be known for doing private residences and helping folks out than, creating this dossier kind of bucket checklist saying, well, I've done, Rolling Hills, and I've done, Pennhurst, and and so has 1,000 other people,
So it would seem now,
but I can say, yeah, but you know what, the Smith family called us in to investigate, and we helped them out, and we're the only team they called. That to me is more important than saying, well, yeah, my bucket list has been, I'm working my bucket list of paranormal spots to do, just because some TV show made it popular,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these places that TV shows go to, I guarantee if you look up on, the internet, they have now probably opened up the paranormal teams to pay to come investigate. So it's much more important for us, and more noteworthy for us when, people call us with, their houses or businesses and say, can you come help us? That's it. You be careful what you wish for, because Darren and I were talking at the beginning of the year and saying that, we wish that, we had more actual investigations, and now we have, 4 already for this year because people have called us. So, it's just, we're not complaining. We like to be busy. Okay. We like to do stuff, but,
so the one thing that, Mo Valley Paranormal does as an investigative group is, as Tyson was just talking about, the pride they have in doing the, personal homes investigation, or just things around the area, because the point I was trying to make is it's easy, I guess, you could say it's easy to look at the shows on TV and, have a desire, especially when they go to a place to investigate that seems to be ripe with activity. But just always keep this in mind too, if you're even just dabbling at this or trying to get into paranormal investigation, the night you go somewhere, and it may be one of these, most haunted places in America, the same thing can happen there that happens anywhere, and that is the spirits are not, Tyson refers to them as, they're neither a zoo animal or a circus performer.
Right.
They don't just just because you showed up and you have your little K2 and you have your little this, that, and the other thing, It doesn't mean it's like they sit there and they go, oh, great, there's people here doing a paranormal investigation. Let's go out and sing and dance.
Well, like one of my, I always use it for an example. I rented Eastern State Penitentiary a few years ago, and we did investigation overnight, and we got absolutely nothing. I mean, I always joke the most activity we got was from the cockroaches and the bats.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's supposedly one of the most haunted prisons in America. And, when I scheduled that investigation, every day of the week had an investigation team that was booked investigating. So if there are intelligent spirits there, they're probably tired of talking to people,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking away.
Yeah, it's like I'm dead. Can't you leave me alone now?
I'm supposed to be resting in peace, And, I mean, I'm not taking away or detracting from. It's a beautiful prison. I mean, it's hauntingly beautiful to see nature taking over this place. And some of these cells, time has just stopped where there's still inmate shirts and pillows on the floor. I mean, it's amazing to be there. But as far as paranormal activity, from my standpoint, it's not there because we didn't experience anything. Now, does that mean it never happens? Absolutely not. But for whatever reason, decided not to, or just didn't happen the night we were there. So that's one of the reasons why we don't, hammer on or focus on these, public places that's, everybody investigates because, they're so overworked that you never know if it's a flip of the coin if you can get activity or not, like any place. So
yeah, that's just the way it goes. And some of the outlay that you have to have that place for an overnighter is it ain't cheap. Let's just put it that way.
No, it's not.
So probably about the best place you can go. And you're going to have paranormal activity at Gettysburg because a lot of what goes on there is residual.
Yeah.
And so you're going to experience something when you go to Gettysburg. So, that's one place that I could pretty well, there's a guarantee. Is it going to be intelligent? Probably not. There's just a lot of men that died there that, their lives were taken and they're reliving that particular, or the energy of that event happening is still there. And will probably be there for all time. It's just, sometimes it's tough to wrap your mind around what happened at Gettysburg. So, but so it goes with paranormal investigation and getting out there. And, like I say, I think, just about every town in America has one place that I'll guarantee if you drive into a town and you go to the corner store, if they still have one, and ask them, is there any place around town here it's haunted? They'll tell you. You'll get somebody to tell you.
Get weird looks, but they'll probably tell you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, it is Mo Valley Paranormal Live, and we will discuss more about the paranormal coming up on News Talk 970 WBLF. News Talk 970 WBLF. It's Mo Valley Paranormal Live, our regular Saturday get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation thereof. I'm Dave Shannon. That guy over there is Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody.
And for those of you who may just be joining us for the first time, Tyson is the founder and lead investigator of Mo Valley Paranormal, our local paranormal investigating group, who I would trust with if there was anything going on and I had the slightest suspicion that it may be paranormal after I debunked it myself. And it's like, I've tried every way from Sunday to debunk this and I can't. So if I need someone to help me, it's going to be these guys. So I highly recommend Mo Valley Paranormal, and they're going to get to the root of the problem. And if it is paranormal, they're going to explain to you what is going on. They won't know why, but they'll tell you what is going on and let you know perhaps what spirit is there, or at least let you know that they were willing to communicate. And and to be honest, getting into it as a paranormal investigator, and you've basically said this many times over the course of our radio show, but it's so rewarding to be able to walk in and, ease somebody's mind about something that they may be really, really concerned about. Mm-hmm. And to, just say, hey, it's okay. It's nothing to be concerned about. One of the things that was like, there are times when, I think we don't understand exactly what's going on the other side. And it to a degree, because it happens so frequently, ghosted hunters would be so scientific in the way and really in their review of the evidence that they collected during an investigation, that invariably they would show you the presentation of the evidence, the reveal, if you will,
right?
And invariably Jason Hawes would say, yeah, well, we spent the night here, 4 people got scratched and, something flew across the room, but we really don't think there's any need for concern. I somewhat got a kick out of that, but, how's your phrase go? Taking the fear out of the unknown, something like that?
Dedicated to taking the fear away from the unknown.
Yeah. So there you have it. And that's primarily what goes on, I think, with a lot of people that, at times may think they do have a haunting. And, when in fact there's just, the older the home is, the more likely there's going to be some noises and things going on and maybe pictures falling off the wall and what have you.
Well,
that have a normal explanation.
Most people that call us, 98% of the people that call us for validation. I mean, they understand something's going on in the house and they're kind of okay with it. They just want to make sure they're not crazy and just imagining things.
Right.
And, research is so important. And I mean, I'm always amazed by research because our one researcher, Debbie, she does a very good job, spends a lot of time going to courthouses and historical foundations and whatnot. And we have a case we're taking on. I can't go into too many details, but a newer home built in early 2000s, and they're experiencing activity. And they're like, for all reasons, we don't understand why there should be something going on in the house. Well, research has brought up that on that land that has been cleared, there was a farm and 3 people died on that property. So I'm always amazed by what research brings up and, the possibility of why something, is going on. So already, I mean, theoretically, I'm already looking at whatever they're experiencing may be residual because, the house that was originally standing there is gone, but yet whatever's there is tied to the land. So unless the intelligent energy is staying there because, maybe in their time the house is still staying there and they're still in their house, or for whatever reason they haven't, some unfinished business on that land, then to me it should be residual because if it's, there's still activity attached to that land, but the original house where the deaths occurred are gone, that would lead me to believe that whatever they're experiencing is a residual type. So, but we haven't done the investigation yet, and knock on wood, we'll get some kind of answer while we do that we can take back to the family and kind of ease their trepidations about what's going on in the house.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's, as you're talking about that, it takes me back, and this was a long time ago. I don't know how many years it would be now, but 30 years plus, whatever. The movie Poltergeist, out of all the sensationalism that was done in that movie, the one thing that was that does play out in our current modern day investigations is the fact that a property that's built on top of something that was in some way sacred, be it Native American, be it the situation that Tyson's talking about, there's so many bodies that have been buried that do not have, this was the cemeteries, and the way we have things now was not always the way it was. What we did with our, loved ones who had passed on. Sometimes, back in a certain period of time, it was just like, well, this is our property and this is home, and we're just going to, the body will stay here. And it would just get buried and, not necessarily have this big fancy headstone there either. So, but you go back and it's like, there was at least that aspect of Poltergeist that was pretty accurate,
right.
About this idea of building on top of something. So, speaking of paranormal investigation, the Ghost Brothers have come back to television, and this time around on the TLC channel, the learning channel it was. I don't know what the hell you learn on it these days, but there was a time when the programming was a little bit different. And I think that's why they just call it TLC now. But the Ghost Brothers are there. That's a new home for them. They used to be on Destination America, and I think Discovery is trying to fold as many of the shows that were successful for them on Destination America onto TLC at this point. Because, face it, what else do they have? My 600-pound life? So, Dalen, Jawan, and Marcus are back at it. And their first assignment, if you will, at Thornhaven Manor in Indiana. Interesting story there. A black family ends up moving in there, the Baileys, and they have someone who helps them, and the guy's name is Frank Thurman, and things go on. Frank freaks out, and he ends up trying to poison the whole family, and he ends up successfully killing the father, Reuben Bailey, making everyone else sick, and eventually being sent to prison pretty much the rest of his life. And a guy bought the house, and so I think he's managing it as hey, this place is haunted, give me money, come investigate.
Yeah.
And one of those kind of setups. And so they show up, and once again, the beauty to me of Ghost Brothers is they don't take themselves seriously. And they don't, because they give you this shot of them getting equipment out of the hatch of an SUV, that, it's like you see no cases. You just see them pick this, let's get this out of the back of the SUV. It's like they already have the device in their hands. So, how serious are they? They're TV stars. I don't think these guys are paranormal investigators, and that is what makes it kind of fun to watch. Some of the things going on there at Thornhaven Manor, shadow figures, apparitions, voices being heard. They walked up, this classic statement, they looked at the exterior of the house, and I think it was Jawan, he says, "This house looks like it's crying."
Yeah.
I think it was because the porch roof,
right,
is sunk in, and it's got that sad face look to it, So, at any rate, one of the things they talked about, some pretty heavy activity, with interaction in the basement, people feeling almost like they were being kidney punched in the basement. They did have I'll tell you what, some local investigators teamed up with the production people for Ghost Brothers and gave them some of their shadow figure video. That was pretty good stuff, Tyson.
Yeah, that was good video. That was impressive.
Yeah, so as shadow figures go, that was some pretty impressive stuff. They talked to Barb Wyatt, a local investigator there, who was one of the ones that provided them with shadow figure video. And they were, having their tour, and the guy's explaining what went on there, and they're standing in this breakfast nook, felt to be one of the, more haunted areas at the house, and you hear this door slam in the background.
Right.
Now, of all the things, was that a setup? Could have been, could have been one of the production crew opened that
right.
Door and slammed it. But that was the noise that they heard. Jawan went back and checked, and that was the noise that they heard. And it was really loud. And so, that happened. And, of course, they were freaked out. Then they said, these ghosts are bad because they're acting up during the daylight. More about Ghost Brothers coming up on News Talk 970 WBLF. News Talk 970 WBLF. It's Mo Valley Paranormal Live, our regular Saturday night get-together and discussion of the paranormal and the investigation of it. I'm Dave Shannon. That guy over there is Tyson Lidgett.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
One of the things we do is go ahead and review the paranormal reality TV programming that is available, and there seems to be some just about every week when we're on, and we've just entered into a new season of The Ghost Brothers, and talking about their investigation at Thornhaven Manor in Indiana. They were getting their tour, and, it's just to show that these guys, don't really take themselves seriously. When you freak out and you say, well, these ghosts are really active because they're doing something during the day. It's like, wait a minute. I don't think day or night matters.
No.
Once you go to the spirit world, might matter to you as a human. Walking around right now in the physical world doesn't mean anything to them. Hell, I don't even think they know what time. I don't know. We have no idea how time passes on the other side. So
it's startling, and it really gets your attention when things happen in the daytime. I always say on on our events. I ask people, questions while we're, trying to make it educational as much as entertaining. And I ask people, why do you think we do this in the dark? And essentially it's just because, most of your evidence is auditory. So you want to kind of take away, rely on everything but your hearing. And, people say, well, it's more scary in the dark. Well, when you're
that can be true that it is more scary, but
right. But as humans, you're built to be afraid of the dark because you can't see. We don't have night vision. It's scarier anyways. But in the daytime, like I was doing an interview one time with a client, and I had the disembodied voice of the little girl say hello 3 feet from me in the middle of the daytime. Your rational mind can't make explanations for that. So. When you have activity happen in the middle of the day, that's scarier than when it happens in the middle of the night, because your rational mind can make up all kinds of reasons why something is going on in the middle of the night.
But the one thing about it is, the fact that it happens during the day is, a spirit's a spirit. And, our activity level is way different during the day. There are things going on. Of course, you have outside noise. Depending on how close to a highway you are and how busy that highway is, you're going to have that kind of noise. Birds chirping, other animals moving around. There are nocturnal animals, but, some of the noises that you'll hear, are, something that you wouldn't really pay attention to during the day because there's a different mindset.
Right.
Of what's going on. And, for all we know, that little girl's trying to say hi to people every day, all day long, and so it happened that she was close enough to you that you heard her on that particular day. Mm-hmm. So, I remember, and you get, because of what we see on television for paranormal investigation, you get that drilled into your brain that it's always at night. And so it does seem weird or off the wall when you have something happen during the day. But I remember an episode of Haunted Collector that, John Zaffis is going around. They had way more activity during the day the one time than they did at night. Mm-hmm. So, it's just the way it is. So moving on with the Ghost Brothers, who were, taken aback by the activity they got during the day. Once they get into investigating, they use a REM pod. I thought it was kind of interesting. They left the antenna down when they were using the REM pod, which you can do. You don't have to have the antenna up. but they're in their in the breakfast nook, which is where the poisoning allegedly took place. And the REM pod eventually starts to interact with them to some questions that they ask. And they eventually head down to the basement because this is where they had heard about the physical interaction that was going on. And they had a guest investigator come in with them, and her name was Wendy, who had a rock thrown at her inside the house. I doubt a rock is probably, pebble, maybe.
Yeah.
The rocks generally, even if there is poltergeist activity, it's usually a pebble of some sort. Anyway, she joins the investigation as they continue on, and they do in the basement where Jawan and Dalen go. They end up getting a stick figure that maps in down in the basement, and they seem to think that it's Reuben Bailey. Meanwhile, Wendy's up with Marcus in the stairs of the house, and they set up a shadow detector and a motion detector. And Marcus doesn't understand the difference between the two. I don't know if you noticed that, but the motion detector was going off, and he's standing there at the bottom of the steps. There goes that shadow detector. And it's like, no, the shadow detector's the other one, and it's not going off right now. Anyway, I digress. And then they switch around, and Jawan and Dalen are upstairs, and Jawan's going up the stairs, and he freaks out. And somewhat rightfully so. There was a clown doll on the steps.
Yeah.
Because clowns are always creepy anyway, so I can't say I blame him there. Then the team goes back down into the basement. Oh, the cat. I forgot about the cat. What the hell was the cat's name?
I forget.
I forget the cat's name. Anyway, there was a cat that, it seemed to follow them around as they were doing their investigating. And sometimes this does happen. I know ghost hunters used, was it Maddie was their dog?
Yes.
And, they took Maddie around. And there were times, you see a dog or a cat that will just kind of be staring off into what we perceive as nothing. And you swear to God they're seeing something because they're just riveted on whatever it is. And so, the use of animals at times, if they can be cool during the, nighttime hours, then they can, actually help out during an investigation. So at any rate, the cat keeps going around with them, and I laughed at one time. They're down in the basement, and the cat's down there with them, and there's like some rooms down in the basement, and the cat steps up to the doorway and looks in this room and then just tears off and goes, they said, if the cat's not going in there, we aren't going in there either.
Right.
So they bailed. But they did get, we had talked about the SLS camera, and they used it somewhat heavily during this investigation. They got the Reuben Bailey figure, and then they felt that they had both Frank Thurman, who had poisoned Reuben, and Reuben in the basement, kind of fighting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And they also picked up some pretty, I'd love to hear those EVPs. They aren't using their phones anymore, by the way, I noticed, for EVPs. And someone, broke down and bought them a digital voice recorder.
Yeah.
But so the EVPs, they got what sounded like a Get Out, but I don't know. First time I heard that, I thought something else when I heard that EVP.
Yeah, I didn't think it sounded like Get Out either. So
yeah. So they had that, and EVP then, and it's hard to say if the spirit was asking for help or saying this is hell. I don't know. The one thing that did kind of, back up it was saying something about hell was they took, they had the newest version of the Obelisk, the Obelisk 5. Is that the newest one?
Yeah, the Obelisk 5 is the newest version of the Obelisk, yes.
So they take that down into the basement, and it, backs up that they had heard something about hell down in the basement because the obelisk spits out the word hell. And of course, Marcus looks like he was just shot by somebody when the obelisk says hell. And that was pretty much it. But once again, fun to watch. They go out. They, as I say, they don't take themselves seriously, or at least in my mind, they don't. They say things, in their open about what they are. But hey, when you watch the show, they're not taking themselves that seriously. So, just a fun show to watch, and they do get some interesting evidence when they do these investigations. So that was them, and I had never seen the Thornhaven Manor on any shows before. So once again, back to that idea. There's more than, that the group of 25 most haunted places in America that are probably haunted. Just keep that in mind. Dead Files. Wow, what a very interesting... First of all, why are a woman, her daughter, and her daughter's 2 kids staying in a 6,200 square foot building?
That was weird because you could tell by the picture she showed there was 3 people behind them standing that were not in the house. So I don't know if maybe a divorce had taken place and the father had the 2 sons or the 2 other children, but the mother was with the mother-in-law, her mother, with these 2 youngest children. So I don't know what was going on there. That was strange.
Yeah, there were a number of things. Basically, they were the mother was having a lot of health issues. The little girls were afraid to be there because of the things that were happening. And so, as usual, throughout the course of the show, Amy does her walkthrough prior to when Steve does his investigation. And they start to show you the correlations between things that Amy says and sees and what Steve comes up with as far as the evidence that's available through both talking with people from that area. And they were in Medina, New York, by the way.
Yes.
And at the end, the most surprising ending to a Dead File show yet, Amy says, there's nothing you can do. You have to leave. There is no way to fix any of this. And, there's a lot of emotion there. And I get that, that they're, the kind of emotion that they had. But in their little, wrap up at the end, they showed that they did move out. The mother's health issues were practically gone. And it all worked out in the end. So sort of a happy ending to a Dead Files episode. That's all the time we have this week. See you next week, folks. Good night.
Good night, folks.